Here we go. Okay, welcome. Welcome to the Likutey Moharan Thursday night. Tazria Matzera, Tafshin Be'alef. So, as we always do in these shurim, we're starting by doing a short-ish synopsis of the Torah that we're learning until now. And as I said more than once, it serves, first of all, for us to get used to the Mahalach of the Torah. Because the Mahalach of the Torah is a, it is a foreign subject. The concepts are very abstract. And you sort of have to wrap your mind around the specific, for lack of a better word, the sing-song of that teaching. And the way this is achieved is by repetition. Every time we start the year, we sort of repeat the concept. And that sort of like settles it into our minds. Every time we understand another portion of it, we understand another, we become more comfortable with the concept of the teaching. So the first part of the Torah, the Rebbe speaks about how there is two types of intelligence. There is worldly intelligence, which is a linear process. Today you understand this, tomorrow you understand this, and it leads to this, and it leads to this, and so forth and so on. And then we have a seichel which is supernatural, which is Pchinas Kedem. And that kind of intelligence is coming in only if you actually use your midas, the senses in your head, which are the seven candles of the menorah, in a way that enables them to ignite and to flip on that mode of reception in your mind. Your mind basically becomes a vessel for supernatural way of absorbing knowledge. You don't learn it step by step. You get it in one fell swoop. You get the whole thing at once. Everybody has had, the pleasure of raking one's head over a sugya or whatever it is, and suddenly we get it. The whole thing makes sense. And it fills the heart with tremendous joy. You're mamish elated. This is the meaning of Shalhevis Alev Oilo Melea. This is when the flame of the heart, when the Seichel Pchinas kedem comes in one piece, in one fell swoop, it brings about a constant and automatic excitement of the heart, which means you don't have to work so hard to get yourself up and running. You don't have to get up and go each and every time. What you need to do, you need to control your mouth, have your shamayim, have emunas chachamim, be ready to accept rebukes, and not look what you're not supposed to. And this is one mode. Then Rabbeinu takes that principle and shows us how this is a guiding principle in other places. At every other place, the 7, which in the first one is the candles of the candelabra, is the tool with which to accept, absorb, internalize the light which is above, which is kedem. And as we're going along, the Rebbe calls it different names. Just hold on just one second. So the second example was in Sukkot, that the 7 clouds of glory, which allow in for the 8th day, Shmini Atzeres, which is B'chinas Bina. This is Ruach HaKodesh, that comes from Chochmah. And again, also, when we're talking about the Sukkah, Chazal Dafka use to tell us that the schach of the Sukkah needs to be something that grows on land and doesn't receive tumah. It's not possible to, it's not unable to receive tumah. We have a rule, that anything which is not a keli, which is not a tool or a beged or a piece of clothing, those receive tumah, so you can't use them. Okay? If you take pieces of wood, just straight pieces of wood, that's not a keli, it's not mekabel tumah. Well, if you took a piece of iron, you can't use it for schach, because this is not a plant. It's not something gidul min haaretz. And interestingly enough, the teaching of Chazal about the schach is something which seems very circumspect to learn the schach from. Except for Amud Onan, there is no other place in the Torah where clouds are referred to anywhere. They are called Nesiim. Those are bringing rain. Clouds, the rain clouds are called Nesiim, but not clouds. Ananei Koved is not mentioned anywhere. There is one reference to clouds in the Torah, and that is during the process of creation, where it says, Ve'ed ya'aleh min haaretz, and vapor shall rise from the land, and v'yishkas pnei adama, and will water the face of the land. So we know that the water rise from the sea, right? So why does Chazal says ve'ed ya'aleh min haaretz, vapor will rise from the land, doesn't say from the sea? So obviously the Torah does not say, the Torah is not a storybook. Everything the Torah says is for a reason. It comes to teach us something. So when it says that vapor rises from the land, becomes a cloud to rain, to rain upon the land, it means that the cloud has to be something that raises from the land. Shegidulu min haaretz. In the same way that vapor does not accept tumah, it has to be something that cannot be defiled, cannot be contaminated. And again, interestingly enough, it's vapor. Vapor is something that is going to be water. It's a very interesting choice to learn something that is not mekamen tuma, from something that is going to be water. Because there's no substance on earth that receives tuma, becomes tumadik, more readily than water. But vapor is not water. It's not yet water. It's very, very important. It shows us two things. It shows us that the vapor will rise from the land. It means something that you have to acquire it. You have to acquire it by yalim in something that is a struggle with your olam hazan, the struggle with the aretz. It comes from the land. It comes from the earth. It comes from, we spoke about the two types of azus, of ferocity, of insolence. There's insolence the kedusha. There's insolence the tumah. Insolence is always something, the Rebbe says, something which is based upon the fact that the person wants something he doesn't deserve. That's azus, that's insolence. The Zohar calls it malchus without a crown, which means your impetus to go ahead after whatever it is that you want is not sanctioned by anyone. It doesn't have a crown. You're not appointed. You just want it. And that's a good enough reason for you. This is the azus, the tumah. That's enough. And azus, Shem Yirachem, is the only punishment for azus is Gehinnom. Azus the kedusha is the same thing, only opposite. It's azus for you to come and nudge Kadosh Baruch Hu to bring you closer, even though you don't deserve it. It's the kind of insolence that Hashem wants. It's also an insolence before people are trying to stop you. Insolence and shame are the two sides of the same coin, the two ends. One end is insolence, which means going after something that you don't deserve. And shame is that you're not going after something that you should be going after. And we said also that when a person is embarrassed from people to do something with Hashem, whatever it is, he's being insolent to Kadosh Baruch Hu. And when a person is misbayish from Kadosh Baruch Hu, he's embarrassed, he's ashamed from Kadosh Baruch Hu, and then he's being insolent and strong and decisive in front of people. You only have to choose who you want to be embarrassed before and who to be as a sponsor before. That's it. It's a flip this and flip that. Then we went to Chopa, the Kiddushin, which is the 8th day, and the 7 days of merriment, Shiva Simei Mishta. Again, the 8th and the 7th. Same thing as we have Velos and so forth and so on. When we finish that, the Rebbe goes into something which Reb Nosson later on says, we mentioned that as well, actually should be in the very beginning. The Rebbe says that sometimes, the relationship of the 7 camels, or whatever it is your mind is, that's called pnimi. That's your inner faculty. That's the things that you understand, things that you can wrap your mind around. The 8th, the Shefa Eloki, the Ruach HaKodesh, the Ser B'chinas Kedem, this is B'chinas Makifin. That's something you don't know yet, something that doesn't come into your mind yet. It's there, it's already giving you, it's already sending you, excitement of, wow, there's a smell of something good in the air, there's something's going to happen. Person that gives it the chayas, the excitement, the sense of newness. But it's still covered, it's still unseen. That's called makifin. Rabbeinu says, yeah, but sometimes the makifin are not there. What do you mean they're not there? They are concealed. It says, Hashem knows where these Mocharan are concealed. And that state is a state of pregnancy. The intelligence, the makifin, hasn't been born yet. So here, what you have to do is you have to take a different kind of tool in order to bring the makifin down, into makifin, into existence, into being exposed, to be born. Here, the tool is crying out loud in Torah and in Tefillah. Because there is an ibor, a pregnancy in Torah, you just don't understand. It doesn't go in. You just don't get it. You look at it, and you look at it, and you look at it, and no dice. Same thing in Tefillah. You're talking to God's Baruch Hu, and you don't have a heart. Things don't give. Doesn't happen. And this is what needs to happen is you need to cry out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The principle of crying out and giving birth, we find it by a yoledes that gives birth. In such a case, she's crying 70 cries. Here Rabbeinu speaks about the 7 voices that David HaMelech said on the water. It says, Kol Hashem b'koyach, Kol Hashem b'hodar. And here is a call that has to come out with koyach. Kapitel, that kapitel Chavtes that talks about the 7 kolos is comprised of 10 psukim. Actually, if you look at this, it looks 11, but it's basically 10 psukim, which means it's the 7 times 10 is 70. And this is, Rabbeinu says, sometimes when the Mocharan Shefa Eloki is withheld by Sif Zayin in the middle, he says it's hidden, it's ibor, it's pregnant. Says then what works, Mashiach, is etza'okol. You have to cry out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And this is what is said, Kibchinas Helem, that being this concealment is Bifchinas, it says, Tzu Yelot Choteshi. What is thought Teshi is like where a Yoledis, a woman that is supposed to give birth, is just too exhausted to give birth anymore. The process of giving birth has totally, she's bushed. She's exhausted. She can't do it anymore. So, Tsuyat Choteshi v'koyach ein laleda. The moichin don't have the koyach to get out from a state of concealment and enter the state of manifestation. That emergence is Bchinas Leda. The Shechina gets the Mech and the Shefa from the spheres above it and brings it in this world. Sometimes the Shechina receives the Mechin, receives the Shefa, but didn't bring it to the world. This is called when the Shefa is concealed. It hasn't been manifested, been rolled down. This is Elam. This is like a woman, Shetash Koicha Milele, the woman doesn't have any more koyach to give birth. And when she gives birth, she's screaming 70 voices. The 70 voices that David says on the water, each one is comprised of 10. And it says in Tzedakah that a person calls out in his tefillah and his Torah. When the moichin leave him, when they're not accessible, these are the tzedakahs which are instead of the calling out of the Yoledis. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shu Yodea Ta'alun Samoichin Ech Nisalmo, that knows the concealment of the mind and how they were concealed. He is listening to our tzedakah. It needs to be understood. What's the pshat? HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows how the moichin were concealed. And how they were concealed. And he listens to our cries. On the face of it, we're talking about something that is very hard to grasp. Okay. So as I said, it seems like, what do you mean HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows how the moichin were concealed, how they were blocked? We said before, HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows absolutely everything. So what's the chiddush here? And he says he listens to our voice. So it stands to reason that these two things are connected to one another. On one hand, Kadosh Baruch Hu knows how the moichin were misalim, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu listens to our cry. That comes to tell you that it is us who bring about the concealment of the moichin. Any kind of wrong move, any time that we do a mistake, sometimes even a slight mistake, brings about the inevitable rise of Ibor, the hiding of the moichin. The moichin are being concealed. Means that the Shefa Eloki is being blocked. It's very, very, very much like we say that the Mitzvah, this is the of Miriam that had to spend 7 days out of the Machne for speaking Lashon Hara against Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu represents the Shefa Eloki compared to Am Yisrael. He is Dvar Hashem. And the Zohar calls the Mitzvah Segiru de Nahoira Elah, the one for whom the supernal light is closed. Which means whenever it is that we do a mistake, especially Rosh Hashanah, anything that we do, inevitably, it's not the Chas v'Chelek HaKadosh Baruch Hu is waiting for us around the corner trying to catch us. That's not what it's about. The thing is that the Ratzon HaKadosh Baruch Hu is reality. We were born for that reality. You know, I saw something amazing, truly amazing. The neshamas of Aaron HaKohen's sons that we're dealing in our parshas. We're going to have Achre Mois, this is after Nadav and Avihu passed away. And these two neshamas, they had a certain pgam. They brought in Esh Zara, you know, that they weren't ordered. It was a certain pgam. The truth be it that their initial pgam came a lot before. In Matan Torah, they came up on Har Sinai and they gazed upon the Shekhinah. And the Kosov said, V'yochlu v'yishtu, and they ate and they drank, which means they were not respectful enough to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And in fact, they were supposed to, you know, to be taken from the world right then and there. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't want to mix up the sin of Matan Torah with the death of Aaron's children, so he waited for them until Chanukas HaMishkan. Nadav and Avihu were actually the Gilgul of Cain, like many tzaddikim were. Yisro is another part of the Gilgul of Cain. And then Nadav and Avihu, because of that particular pgam, they went again in their final tikkun. The final tikkun of Nadav and Avihu was in Shmuel HaNavi, that Chana requests from Kadosh Baruch Hu Zera Anoshim, a seed of Anoshim, of people. Zera Ish. Why Anoshim? Why did she plural? Nadav and Avihu went into Shmuel HaNavi. Moshe Rabbeinu says to Aaron HaKohen, Kadosh Baruch Hu told us that he is going to glorify with those that are closest to him. He said, I thought, Rashi says, this is Moshe Rabbeinu tells Aaron HaKohen, when Aaron's children, Nadav and Avihu, died, he said, I thought it was going to be you and me. But I see that they are greater than us because he chose them. Then again, why did they go? Because Aaron HaKohen made the Egel. It might say he made the Egel. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu says. Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted to destroy Aaron. He says, but I blocked it. What is destroying? Taking away the children. So you see a mistake here, a mistake. Then he goes into Shmuel. Shmuel, they say, is equal to Moshe and Aaron, right? This is Nadav and Avihu. And then through a whole complex process, you have the neshamas of Nodam Vav, you have the nefesh of Pinchas ben Azar Cohen, and Eliyahu Novi, everything going into Eliyahu Novi. And there were two Eliyahu Novis. There's Eliyahu Novi of that was Meshevet Gad, and there was the same manifestation of Eliyahu Novi that Meshevet Binyamin. Extremely complex. Whenever it is that somebody chooses in this world to listen to his physical manifestation and he's making a mistake, inevitably there is a result. There's a consequence. You can do tshuva, and Lamaisa, the Kodesh Baruch Hu forgives you. But the point is that that's what the Kodesh Baruch Hu knows the Talumas Moichin, how the Moichin were closed off from us, how they were closed off. What did we do? And what is written over here is that Kodesh Baruch Hu knows how it was written, how the Moichin were disappeared and they were closed off for us. What did we do to make it happen? So, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu judges us favorably. He knows that, what can you do? We are who we are. It's the best we can do. What can we do? We're trying. So Kodesh Baruch Hu listens to our cries. He listens to our tefillahs. When we cry out, that breaks the dam, as it were, and the moichin comes, and the birth comes. And when we are crying out, it's like the Shechina crying out. This is Zebchinas Akol Me'ora Kavona. That the voice, when a person davens loudly, it awakes his kavana. It means basically al pipshat. When you say the words loud, it's easier for you to grasp what it is you're saying. When you're just murmuring the tefillah, you're just whispering, your mind can wander somewhere else while your lips are saying whatever is written in the Siddur before you. But when you are actually mentioning the words aloud, it is easier. It awakens your intent, your focus. But here the Rebbe uses it to teach us hainu akomas hakavona. In other words, the call, the cry, awakens the moichin. And this is the bechina of what we said before, tikolem shivas yomim. Talk about Miriam. What Rebbe said about Miriam, she needs to be embarrassed, she needs to be shamed for 7 days. What are these 7 days? Shivas Yomim of Miriam, Zebchina Shivas Koila Shel David. That's the 7 sounds that David made on the water. Shem Shivin Kalim, which is the 70 voices. That has to, you have to cry it out in order to extricate the or upon him from being concealed to being revealed. The gilui, that revelation is later. As later, when it says there is an incredible concept of dam nasa chalav, the blood becomes milk. That's a process for Yoledis. When she's about to give birth, the blood, is ameliorated and it becomes milk. The blood is red, which is dinim. When the dinim are ameliorated, they become milk. They become chesed. They become white. There's a very deep concept over here. It comes, it says, the Rebbe B'chavana brings here the inyan of Miriam. The inyan of Miriam, Rabbeinu uses to say this is the voices on the wall, on the water of David the Melech. This is when Miriam was stuck. She had to be outside of the camp. Halok tikolim. We said that the word tikolim will be embarrassed. The root is the word, the verb is klima. Klima is embarrassment, shame. But in the infinite world of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, where everything will ultimately come to its tikkun, to its rectification, both the kavod, which is kavod eloki, and the shame are equally kalim to achieve the final result. Klima is made out of two words. It's called kli for the ma. Ma is the chochmas, the Ruach HaKodesh. Klima. When does a person get embarrassed? A person gets embarrassed when something obliges him and he doesn't measure up. Something that's not shaykh to me, it's not shaykh to me to be embarrassed. Well, I'll be embarrassed because a bird flies over my head. Flying is not shaykh to me. I'm not embarrassed. It doesn't shame me that I can fly. By the things that I'm requested, I'm called for, that I'm being called to task for, this shaykh to me. These and I don't measure up. That is the thing that generates the busha, the klima. But then we also have, this says in Olam Haba, Rabbeinu says later, called tzaddik v'tzaddik, nichvo michapos u'chavaroi. Every tzaddik gets singed from the makif of another tzaddik. What does it mean? It means, as we said many times, the only difference in the madrega of tzaddikim is how much they apply themselves. The harder they work, the bigger tzaddikim they become. That's it. It's very simple. Whatever it is that a person believes, this obliges me, this is mechayev me, and I don't do it, that generates a busha. That generates embarrassment. I'm supposed to be able to do this, and I'm not doing it. But something which I figured to be, man, what are you talking about to me, waking up chatzos and davening, for 2 hours every tefillah and learning, and what's good to do with me? You don't feel embarrassed if you don't do it. You feel embarrassed that you go to shul and you rush through the davening. Why? Because you feel that this is something which is shaykh to you. This is something that is shaykh to your madrega, yet you're not doing it. This is a source of embarrassment, it's a source of shame. But on the other hand, there's a very deep concept in this particular shame, the very same way that shame reveals what you're supposed to do, but you're not doing. This shame also reveals exactly the other way around. The shame reveals that you're not just anybody. You're somebody who is shaykh to that madrega. Somebody who is mechuyev to daven properly in shul. How easy it is, b'chal, to go to shul to feel that, okay, let's just get it over with, it's just gone. The Nisrael is very hard. To feel shamed, that you're not davening properly is a fantastic gilui of who you are. You feel that davening properly is mechayev you. It obliges you. You're chayev. It brings out your mila, your grandeur. Rabbeinu said, my Musa Sefer is the Bible, not less. Now, the entire Bible is mechayev him. The entire Bible calls him to task. For us, get up in the morning, go to daven, and put on film, whatever it is, make a bracha, this tea, thank you very much. Making a bracha, drinking it. The Tzaddik Ador, the entire Bible is Sefer Musar. So the klimo, the busha, mitzad echad, it reveals how short you are from where you need to be, how short you fall from where you need to be. On the other hand, it tells you how valuable you are. You belong in that concept. You should be doing that. Other people aren't even there. So in a sense, the same thing that causes us to feel so down on ourselves, feel so low, this kind of klima, this kind of busha, is a revelation of what we feel that obliges us, what we feel that we're chayav. It's tremendous revelation. This is our maila. This is our beauty. This is our, as Rabbeinu says, our beauty, this is, Mashiach will reveal. Why will Mashiach reveal? Why can't we reveal now? I mean, there's tremendous wrestlers and tzaddikim, fantastic tzaddikim from Rabbeinu until today, unbelievable. In every generation. Why do we need to wait for Mashiach? Because until Mashiach, each and every one of us is so broken. I'm shortchanging HaKadosh Baruch Hu so much. I'm falling short on everything that I need to do so badly. That is your glory. Rabbeinu said that at times of Mashiach, there'll be airplanes in the world. But he said even more than that. He said that by the times of Mashiach, a person will be able, and it's not necessarily, before Mashiach, it says the time of Mashiach, which means we still have to see some development in air travel before that happens. Because Rabbeinu says that a person will be able to wake up in one side of the world and travel to Eretz Yisrael, to Mashiach, to get chizuk from Mashiach, and come back to his place and go to daven before Zman Tefillah. Before Zman Tefillah is over. So we're not just there yet. Maybe this is teletransporting. I'm not sure what it is. But whatever it is, this is what Rabbeinu said. It means that the role of Mashiach is chizuk. The role of Mashiach is to give us chizuk, to show us our beauty. That is the role of the tzaddik. There is a reason why people come to Uman for Rosh Hashanah, and they feel this incredible gratification and satisfaction that they cannot give a name to. And what's actually happening is that the tzaddik shows each and every person his beauty. Each and every one of us has a certain point, a unique point of beauty. That beauty is concealed and being expressed at the same time in our shame. What are we ashamed of? We're ashamed of we're not davening properly. We're ashamed that we don't learn Torah the way we should. We should be able to. We don't measure up to the way we're supposed to be. That is our beauty. That shame is our honor. Shame and honor are the two ends of the two sides of the same coin. Miriam is the 70 voices on the water that brings about the birth. The 70 voices you have to cry in order to bring about the or upon him. He said, this gilu is later. After the later, dam ne the blood itself, the shame itself, becomes the kavod elokei. The dinim themselves become chasodim. There's no more koyach when you're exhausted. This is Rashi Tevis of Tzakaseinu Yodea Talumis. That concealment of the Moichin is the Rashi Tevis of Hashem. Tzakaseinu Yodea Talumis. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that which is concealed from us. They are both referring to one Indian. The Shechina is exhausted and cannot give birth to Moichin. The Kadosh Baruch Hu, who knows how and what caused the Moichin to be concealed, he hears our cries and opens it up. Is it Teshi? The word Teshi, exhausted, unable to give birth, has to do with Miriam. How? Is Rashi Tevis Tikolem Shivas Yomim, acronym Teshi. It also, the Tikol Shivas Yomim is also referring to that particular Indian, where the shame becomes the covered. When our wretchedness is an expression to our preciousness. When the blood becomes milk. When the dinim become chasodim. The next, B'ezrat Hashem, the next time that we're going to learn Likutey Moharan, we're going to go into this union of what happens when what a person does in a state of when he learns Torah, but he doesn't understand any chiddush in that Torah. This B'ezrat Hashem we'll talk about next week. The important thing that we need to take out of this is to understand the dam nekar v'nasa chalav. The fact that we feel that we are so pathetic reveals our glory. Because we feel pathetic because of what is being called. We don't feel pathetic because, we are not millionaires. Or we don't know Amazon. We don't own Amazon. Who cares? Why would anybody want to own Amazon? It's nuts. It's crazy. What are you going to do with it? You're broken because you can't daven. And you never want to daven. And you're embarrassed. Why? Because it's mechayev you. You feel that it obliges you. It calls you to task. It calls you to order. What's with you? Why are you not davening properly? Why are you not making hisbeidados? Why are you not learning? That feeling that because you feel shaychus to it. You feel that you belong with it. And because of that, this is dam nesa nekar nesachala. The klima becomes the gilu of the kavod, both in the same time. I want to tell you that there's a secret technique of what do you do when you can't call out, when you can't scream. Let's say that you're in your bed and you can't get out of bed. You don't want to get out of bed. Getting out of bed is threatening. You feel like you're going to wake up to a day that's going to be just like any other day, where you have to be, when you'll be filled with disappointments and embarrassments and failures and feeling of inadequacy and whatever. But you don't have to get up. You can ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to help you get up. But I don't want to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to help me wake up. I want to continue sleeping. So you can dive into HaKadosh Baruch Hu in your thought and ask him to help you to want to ask him to help you get up. And it works. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always with you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu always cares about you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is, when you know that thing in your head, which you feel is all alone, that thing in your head which looks out of your eyes, that feels the pain in your back or in your hip or in your knee or whatever it is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with you there. You're never alone. You can always reach out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even if you can't talk. There's a story about Reb Nosson, that once, I think a fish bone was stuck in his throat. And he couldn't breathe. So he raised his hands up in the air and his eyes up. He couldn't talk. Just looked up. And the bone was dislodged. Just looking up. Probably in his mind, I can't even talk to you. Just in a thought, please help. Lift the hands up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It works. It works. With the koyach of the tzaddik, you should have to understand the koyach of the tzaddik is always there. Because I'm not worthy for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to listen to me. But with the tzaddik with me, the koyach of the tzaddik with me, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu even listens to what I'm asking in my thoughts, let alone in my words. B'ezrat Hashem, we will meet on Motzei Shabbos and Sipur Baal Shem Tov and Sichas Haran Bli Neder. And B'ezrat Hashem, we'll see you all then. Thank you so very much for